Two moms, two marketers, two women new to the financial industry. They have a lot of questions. That's why they're bringing in financial experts to educate all of us here on A Penny or Two for Your Thoughts.
Hey everyone, it's Chantel.
Hey guys, it's Liz. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Big announcement. This is our 6th episode.
6 episodes in. I mean, I think it's pretty awesome. And today we have like a live studio audience.
Oh, we do.
I mean, we've got two people
the
here.
VIPs.
We do. We've got our intern Megan here, and she's not an intern anymore.
Nope. She agreed to stay.
Yeah.
I think the duct tape and Gorilla Glue discussion.
I know.
Kind of stuff.
She really wanted to be part of
See
this.
what I did there?
Oh goodness, this live studio is making us have jitters. I also brought a guest today, my son, my 15-year-old, who, when you talk about like what you do for a living, okay, so my husband is a teacher, and they'll say, "Hey, yeah, we know Dad's a teacher. We have no idea what you're doing." So I'm like, "I'm gonna be so cool today. Let's bring him, and he'll see that we do that's so cool." And he's looking at me right
he's
now
like
going,
he's slouching into that couch further and further, like, oh my gosh, that's my mom. That's my mom. I have to claim her. Yeah. You're gonna leave the building before I am. I will walk out. Yes. You will pick me up a block away and drive me home.
Yeah. Stop talking.
Straight
Mom.
home.
You're embarrassing everybody in the world that's listening to this.
Yep. Don't pass go. Don't collect your $200. Just drive me home.
Yeah. It's gonna happen. Well, we're glad that you guys are here. And we're glad to have our guest today as well.
Yes, we've got an awesome guest. He tells the best dad jokes. I mean, you guys thought mine was probably pretty good at the beginning of this. His are the best. He's always walking the Centris halls with a smile. He's been involved in the car business since 1997. That's a long time. He worked at a dealership until 2012. He's been a part of the Centris family for 8 years. Please welcome to the podcast our Vice President of Indirect Lending, Rick Seamann.
Thank you, ladies.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, happy to be here.
Good.
You guys are a hoot to watch. I'll start with that.
Well, good. I'm glad they're listening and not watching it right now.
Well, hoots are part of the owl, and owls are wise. So maybe he's saying,
wow, where did you pull that from?
I'm not really sure.
That was a stretch.
It was a stretch. Yes, a big stretch.
Studio audience, did you like that one? Okay, good.
Okay, we're getting nods. We're getting nods. Oh, Jace just snuck down even further into that couch. Oh boy, I'm sorry.
Oh. Rick, so you're here. You're here with us today to talk about all things car buying, car lending, all the things that you are a subject matter expert on. So talk us through where you've been. How has your career led you here to Centris and what you're doing today?
Well, after graduating high school, I never had many plans. I went into a car dealership and they hired me to sell cars, and couldn't have been the better move for right out of high school for myself. Worked my way up through the car dealership. We bought a new car franchise for the dealership we worked for. So it was a good learning experience, seeing the growth going into measuring parking lots and everything that actually goes into selling cars and servicing cars. From there, I had 2 daughters that grew up in front of my eyes, and work-life balance became more important to me than a paycheck.
Yep.
So at that moment, I knew I wanted to stay in the auto industry because it's all I knew, and it's where my blood is. So I started reaching out to industry leaders that I knew and asking them what my next choice or avenue would be. And a company out of California called CU Direct was hiring a dealer rep for Iowa and Nebraska. What CU Direct does is it allows car dealerships to communicate with local credit unions for auto financing, among other things, but that's their bread and butter. They took a chance on me, and I worked with them for just under 2 years with Centris Federal Credit Union, being our biggest client here in Nebraska. Grew great relationships with Centris over those 2 years, and when the previous Vice President of Indirect Lending moved on, they asked me to move over, and the rest is history. So it was not knowing that you were kind of built for a position, and not trying to toot my horn or anything, but it seemed like everything led to that moment to be able to serve our members and, the Omaha metro area.
And you should toot your horn, Rick. You're doing great things at Centris.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. I think I would echo the sentiment that you said earlier. When you walk through the halls, you always either have a tie on or a jacket. You're just totally got the look, but you've got a smile on your face all the time. I think that is one of the best things. You were one of the first people I met coming to Centris, and it was like, oh, it was so nice to have that welcoming feeling. So.
I always say if you can't have fun, you can't have anything. So
that's great.
That's a great way to live. Great way to live. So for our listeners, we talked about this just kind of in between the three of us before, but the current buying environment with cars, I mean, we drive by the dealerships. There's not many things on the lot, not many cars on the lot. What do they need to know about the current buying environment?
Well, that's one crazy thing about the auto industry or about any industry. History repeats itself. Well, we've never had this kind of history before. So there's really nothing to draw off of other than maybe cash for clunkers in the 2008 recession, but there's still not very many similars between the two. At the beginning of COVID, everybody thought nobody was going to be buying cars and they were going to be staying home and buying TVs. So they switched the production of the chips for the cars over to TVs and electronics, not knowing that it actually was going to create a shortage in the automobile industry. And that's where we are today. Dealers at the beginning of COVID were doing everything they could to get rid of cars. If they could go back in time, they would have been buying these cars because cars are depreciating assets. Right now, they're still appreciating assets at this point. So,
right.
The going from lot to lot to lot to drive car after car after car to find the perfect one for you is a thing of the past for now.
What are those consumers that are out there? I mean, if you're looking for a car right now, what do you need to know? What are like the things you should be taking in with you or being prepared for, just because it is so different?
Couple things. I would be pre-approved for the loan. So when you do find the car you want, you can buy that car at that time. Second thing, if you find the car you want, buy it. If you go home to think about it, there's somebody else that looked at it yesterday and wanted to think about it and it's coming back today to buy it. So keep that in your mind. And it doesn't mean the dealer's selling it from underneath you. They have lines of customers to buy these cars at this point in time, trying to get as many as they can to help their customers. So if you find that car, be ready to buy it. Be prepared to buy it.
Yeah. One of the things you were talking to us about was in the past, you had months maybe to really research and go to several different lots and talk to many different dealers. And now it's, you go in that day, you better be prepared. Is that true? Yeah.
The old buying cycle, they said it was about 6 months. You would start by asking friends and family, and then you would go online, maybe to an Auto Trader, Car Gurus. Centris Auto Smart is a great free site as well. And then from there, you would maybe then pick 2 or 3 models and go to those 3 franchises, maybe a Ford, a Chevy, and a Dodge, drive those vehicles, go home, do a little more research, and then start your financing process. Anymore, those are all one done together. You're either, you need a car, so you're getting approved before you go in, or you're going to the dealership, finding the car and letting them land you with the best lender they have available.
I think that you kind of used a keyword there, people that need a car. It used to be one of those, I suppose I kind of want a new car. I suppose I could go look. That's kind of a thing of the past too. You're finding people who are now car shopping are really maybe more in the need category versus want.
Yeah. I mean, leases coming up put you into that kind of have to buy, but generally buying your lease right now out is a better option than giving it back to the leasing company, because there is, like I said, the residuals were set years ago before we knew the book values were going to go up. But yeah, I think the people that just wake up one day and decide they want a new car because they're tired of the one they're driving, they're not out just buying cars. I mean, not only is there a shortage of cars, but as we all know, the feds are increasing the interest rates as we go on right now. So as prices of vehicles continue to go up and interest rates go up, I mean, payments are higher. It's kind of hard to replace what you have in your driveway with anything newer or nicer and keep an affordable payment.
Yeah.
We were talking about those letters that we're getting like, hey, we want your car.
Yep.
Great. But I'm not going to have a car to drive then. So how's that going to work out for me?
You want my car? I want my car.
Yeah. So that's definitely the environment for sure.
So I know like in the past there was a chip shortage. Is that still an issue today?
You see all kinds of different philosophies on the chip shortage, but yeah, they are still trying to produce the chips. From what I understand, and I'm not an expert on chips, I'll tell you that right now. Maybe auto lending, but not chips. Some of the resources that go into the chips need to be mined. And with COVID and mines shutting down and the whole world going recluse for a little bit there, I think it's created a shortage. It's a stockpile shortage. So yeah, I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago and they were talking about new car production and how many millions of cars they were down, and stating even if they would come back and ramp production up to 90%, if it was possible without COVID breakdowns shutting down the factories, which is still happening. You got to remember all the rental car companies and all these leasing vehicles, rental car companies, GE Capital for their employees. There's all these fleet vehicles that need to be filled too that just aren't filled. Chances are if you've rented a car recently, it's been an older vehicle with higher mileage than what you're used to. Those are going to have to be filled too. So the world we're in right now with this new car shortage is going to be here until, in my prediction, late 24, maybe early 25.
Wow. It's incredible to think how things have changed so drastically. I guess if you could step back, or if you could answer this now, is there a better time of the month to purchase a vehicle? Is there something that our listeners should be like, oh, okay, I need to do that now? I mean, again, we know if you go in today, you're probably going to need to do it today, but is there a better time in the month, or is that kind of a myth from the past?
It used to be at the end of the month. Yeah. Manufacturers pay their car dealers for how many new cars they would sell on the lot. And if maybe a dealer was a couple short of hitting their goal, they would pass those savings on to the next customer that came in at the end of the month to not give that money away. They're not in those circumstances now. They're literally selling cars off of trucks they have coming in 3 weeks. People show up, say, I'll take the car. The car shows up in 3 weeks. They call them, have them come in and buy the car, do the paperwork, and take it home. Mm-hmm. So I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but if you find a dealership that you feel comfortable with and working with, work with them to know when the vehicle you're looking for will be coming in, and put your name on the list and be ready for it. Now, sometimes people don't show up to get those cars, and you can be on the waiting list and maybe get bumped up. I think those are few and far between, but I have heard it happening.
Yeah. Wow. I never imagined we'd be in this kind of state with cars.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you go to buy like the latest, I don't know, video gaming system, and you have to be put on a list to get it. But for a car, that's incredible.
I think for me, I like to see and touch and all the things. Like, I don't know if I would be prepared to buy something that I'm looking online, a car of that value, and just say, okay, yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Right. Because what if the cup holders suck? You can't have bad cup holders.
Done deal. Like, I can't.
Right.
I mean, Sears and Roebuck tried to sell automobiles out of a magazine, I want to say back in the 70s, because they thought nobody wanted to go to dealerships anymore and nobody were going to want to deal with salespeople, and it failed miserably. Exactly what you said, Chantel. People want to touch the vehicles, feel the vehicles. There's a saying, nothing seals the deal like the feel of the wheel, and that's missing right now in the current environment, I think.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Did you hear what you did there?
I like it. I like it. I have to keep that one in the memory bank. So what I see Jace sitting over there, and Jace is 15. He's about ready to get behind the wheel, if he hasn't already. Oh, yep.
There's that nervous.
I see the nervous tick happening. So he has gotten behind the wheel a couple times.
Yes.
But he'll be a first-time car buyer when he's ready to get a car. What do they need to be prepared for? What are some things for them to think about?
Start saving your money. First-time car buyer, if you're trying to finance something, is one of the tougher circumstances to be in, unless you have a co-signer or, a parent, grandparent to help you out on there. But, back in when you politely put it earlier, 97 was a long time ago. Now, when I started selling cars, people would come in and say they wanted to spend $1,500, $2,000 on a car for their kid. And I'd always be like, really? You want to put your kid in a $1,500 to $2,000 car? Bad brakes, bad tires. This is your kid,
right.
Fast forward now, many years later, as you put it, Liz, the kids now, if you're in a $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 car, are those $15,000 to $2,000 cars of the past. Yeah. So where does that go? One thing I will say, cars are a lot safer now than they were in '97. So all the safety features, all manufacturers are producing great cars. So the cars go 200,000 and 300,000 miles anymore now. So long answer to your question is I would start saving money now if I was a 15-year-old looking to buy a car in the next, everybody thought everybody was going to ride sharing, but then COVID ended that for now. Nobody wants to share a car with anybody. Nobody wants to share anything with anybody. They want their own stuff.
All I heard you say was save money. I don't know if I can say that enough, kids. Save your money. No? Okay, great. So you talked a little bit earlier about, finding the right dealer and kind of where that car might be at for you, but how do you find the right lender?
How do you find the right lender? Well, generally, whoever your primary financial institution is where I would start, but also local credit unions in tough times like in all times actually, but definitely in tough times, they're there for their members. They're not there for their stockholders. So they still have a great offering for auto rates. They're still going to be there to help you with the higher advances because, trying to get a car under NADA or JDE Power Blue Book now is very tough. So I would say start with your local credit union.
Very good. Good advice.
Yeah. Well, you have a relationship with you. They know you. They might know your kids. You've probably had your savings account there for the majority of your life. And instead of making a decision just on a credit score, and, things have happened to people over the last couple of years with COVID, they know that and they're there to work with you.
Very good.
Well, good things I'm learning. 97 really wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't.
Just saying. I was very well alive during that time. Long time. In fact,
the Huskers were still good then.
They were. Yes. That was the good old days.
Yes.
What I would like to say, but not old because nobody in this room is old.
Right.
Nobody. Except me. So I know we've done a lot of talking about cars, but something else that you kind of have your hands in is the boats, motorcycles, RVs. I know we did kind of a fun campaign with you at the beginning of the year with dishes. So kind of talk to us about that. So what are some things that people should take into consideration when they're purchasing those? Is there a good time of year to be buying those?
If you're going to buy a motorcycle, you'll probably get a better deal in the winter here in Nebraska when people can't ride them, but you wouldn't be able to ride it either. But prices are generally a little better then. Nice thing is the chips didn't really affect the motorcycles, boats, and RVs as much. A different effect had on the RVs, though, when everything shut down for COVID. People then moved to the outdoors, and so they went to buy the campers and filled up all the campgrounds and all that. So the camper stores have seen a great success through all this COVID and it's good for everybody to get back out in nature, I feel. But best time to buy a camper would be when Bish's and Centris does their camper sale at the beginning of the year. Best time to buy a boat is, well, if you ask the guy selling it, it's the day he's selling it because everybody that buys a boat is happy the day they sell it as well. And then RVs is, like I said, that's beginning of the year when they have the Omaha Boat and Camper Show.
Very good. As we go into continuing to look at what the future of car buying looks like, are there any misconceptions from the past that still remain true, or anything that you would give our listeners a hint on?
Research the vehicle, research your lender, know who you're doing business with. One of the things that always drove me crazy is, the old adage, if you're paying cash, you get a better deal. That's not true anymore. There's lots of lenders out there that are trying to get the car loans from the auto dealers. So in that case, we offer incentives in order to get the loans and to help our members get the best service there as well too. So, go in, let the dealership do their thing. They're not there to hurt you. The internet has made everything transparent. They're there to sell a car. You're there to buy a car. Centris is there to finance a car. We all need each other.
Absolutely. And you can go in pre-approved.
Yeah.
That's the beauty, I think, that I learned from you at the beginning of our relationship working together is go in pre-approved. It's going to cut down your time at the dealer. It's going to make it easier for you and the dealer just to get things moving, keep things moving.
Well, then you know what you can afford.
Right.
Absolutely.
You're not buying a car and then realizing after you have to go, put the plates on it that you can't afford it anymore. Mm-hmm.
And that's one great thing that Centris does for their members is we partner with Cuddle, Credit Union Direct Lending, and then we have what we call our Smart Approval. It's not you might be approved on a car. You put in the application, it goes through our underwriting team. They give you the approval. They give you a certificate that's good at 99% of the dealerships here in the Omaha metro area. You go to the dealership, you find the car you want, give them your first name, last name, social security number, pulls up the credit application you'd already did All the dealer has to do is what they're selling you the car for, put in the system. If you're putting money down, if you have a trade-in, goes back to the underwriting system, to our underwriting team. You do the paperwork at the dealership, take the car home that day, and the dealership and Centris does everything for you behind the scenes. Another great thing, the payment before you go in, especially if you already knew the car you're going in to buy. I seen it time and time again. People drive in a 1997 Chevy Cavalier, that pulls to the right. They smoked a pack of cigarettes in a day and they fall in love. The first thing they drive is a $50,000 car and they fall in love with it. Of course, it's better than what they drove in. They can't afford a $650 payment. They wanted to be $350, but now they can't live without that car. They talk themselves into it. 3 months later, they're in trying to trade it, but they can't get out of the car, and then it hurts their credit situation. So knowing your payment before you go in, it lets you buy the car that you can afford, also that you want.
Very good. Good advice.
That's great advice. So kind of on that advice realm, we like to do this segment called A Penny or Two for Your Thoughts. Weird that ties to the title of the podcast, but
you're super creative
we're
around
very
here.
creative. That's why we're in marketing. That's why they hired us. So penny or two for your thoughts, Rick.
Yeah.
What do you want to leave the listeners with? What's one thing that you could tell them as far as advice goes when it comes to buying a car?
The advice I would give when buying a car is don't get into too much car. Buy the car that you can afford. At the end of the day, it's point A to point B transportation. It's to keep your livelihood and your credit going because you're going to have to work. You got to get to doctor's appointments. And if you are going in to buy a car, get pre-approved before you go in and buy a car. Know the facts of the loan before you get there.
Great information.
That is great information. Great advice. Thank you so much, Rick, for sitting down, chatting with us, for dropping the good jokes and being a good sport about the 97. I can't believe I did that.
I'm never
going to live that down.
Yeah. Are you okay? With it?
Yeah, I think I'll be okay.
Do you want to tell a dad joke before? Do you want to end on a really good dad joke?
What's a good dad joke you could tell our listeners?
Well, I found out after 20 years of marriage that my wife still thinks I'm sexy.
Really?
Yeah.
Every time I walk by her, she says, "What an ass."
And folks, it's been great doing this podcast for everyone.
Thank you for listening. On one note, you are a Husker fan, so we are getting ready to go into that season. So
yeah,
pumped. I drank the Kool-Aid again.
Yep, I did too. I know we had Ash on the last podcast, and you and I both know what that brings. So
you can't help everybody.
No, I know. All right. Well, obviously, we've got a lot of subject matter experts at Centris, and if you have any questions you'd like to ask them, just send those our way at pennyforyourthoughts@centrisfcu.org. And if you don't want to miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. And if you enjoy what you're hearing, rate and review to help share the wealth. Also, be sure to follow Centris on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn for more great financial information. You can also visit our website at centrisfcu.org or just give us a call at 402-334-7000. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.